my friends, it is so good to see you. I hope life's been treating you well. I've had a bit of a tough time recently. It's not a sad video. You just got to keep things in perspective, you know? Life's good. I just have a lot to update you on. So over a year ago, I set myself the goal of running a 100-mile ultramarathon race. I hadn't done any endurance training for about 6 to 7 years before that, but I just kept seeing women crush the ultra running space, like outright beating men, getting world records, and I was feeling so inspired. I'm not the most natural runner. I'm much more of a natural swimmer and cyclist, but I just thought to myself, who cares? It wasn't really about that. Like I wanted to have that life experience. It felt really fun at the time. I'll just start with a quick catch up of everything that's happened up to my last ultramarathon video so we're all caught up. And then I'll fill you in with all the drama of what's happened since then and why the doctors are basically telling me that I need to stop. So the original plan was to do 6 months of training so that I'd be racing in summer/autumn of last year. Now, obviously I'm not a full-time athlete. Sometimes I work a little bit more than I should. I just felt like if I planned my sessions really well and I was training efficiently, it wouldn't take over my life. I could enjoy the adventure. Like this was never meant to be some kind of no excuses, David Goggins style sufferfest. That's not what I was going for. We can always just adjust as we go, you know, like nothing's set in stone. It's just a bit of fun. And then straight away I injured my ankle. That's so fucking painful. How is this possible? My fault. Like, I know that there are potholes around. Potholes are a tale as old as time. I know that I have to keep my eyes on the road. I didn't, and I got to live with that. So now we have tenosynovitis, post-tib tendon on the right side. It's excruciating. It's really, really painful. I literally couldn't actually run. The physios were amazing. They helped strengthen my ankle. More importantly, they just helped build my confidence back up. Like, I am now so confident, probably too confident, and my ankle is so strong, probably too strong. Like, I dare that pothole to come back to a pavement near me. Do you know what I mean? Come back. The only catch was that to allow the ankle to recover, I had to mostly just run on flat routes. So I was trying to avoid dorsiflexion, basically, pulling my toes to my shins, because that made the injury worse. Like, it just aggravated the tendon. So when I was looking for races, I was looking for flat races. Basically nothing over 1,500 meters elevation gain over that 100-mile race distance. And I also had to incorporate 3 to 4 rehab sessions a week, which was eating into my running training. But again, it's okay. Honestly, pace was never really that important to me. I think the first time you try anything, you just take the pressure off and don't worry too much about performance. It doesn't matter if it's like a 5K or a half marathon or an Ironman or a powerlifting competition. I kind of think it's a little bit pointless going after performance the first time, because you're gonna learn so much. You're also gonna make a lot of mistakes. And by the time you do your second or third attempt, you will already beat your performance anyway, just because you won't be making those mistakes. The challenge of the first one is in the new lifestyle, the new training of the new sport. The race day is just kind of a celebration of what your body can now do. Especially with the injury, I wanted to take the pressure off. So I started to think about prepping for a 24-hour pace. Now, to put it in perspective, the pros will do it in like 15, 16, 17 hours. It's insane, isn't it, really? They're basically robots. Robots in a meat package. But for me, 24 hours sounded really doable. Like, it completely took the pressure off. My confidence had taken a little bit of a bump at that time. 4 marathons in 24 hours kept me feeling like I could envision the race and that it was very doable for me. And then finally, race 1 is here. People are smiling, I'm smiling, it's a good time. It is hot, it's steamy, but you know what? I'm feeling good. And I finally got past all of that rehab. It was just time to celebrate all of the training. And then, same ankle. I actually couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. So I kept on going to 50 miles, so 80 kilometers, but I just kept thinking the pain is really sharp. I just really don't want to set myself back to day 1 of rehab. So we called it a day at 50 miles, so 80 kilometers. 2 months of rehab later, race 2 comes along. The ankle's feeling good. I'm feeling good. The confidence is back. We make it past 50 miles ahead of 24-hour pace. I've got loads of energy still in the tank. And then the rain starts and it just doesn't stop. And my shoes are waterlogged. It's all in my gear. All of the dry clothes that I had in my drop bags, they're all drenched. And after about 7 to 8 hours of constant rain, I'm at 133 kilometers, so 82.5 miles, and the cold is killing me. And I had 17.5 miles to go, which is painfully close. Like, it's within touching distance, but it's still a few hours off. And my body was shutting down from the cold, so I just didn't want to put it at risk. And I called it a day at 82.5 miles, so 133 kilometers. Race 3 was a month after race 2 because race 2 proved to me that my fitness was in a really good place. So I was just like, let's go for it. This time I've got all the waterproof gear. Ain't getting caught out again. Except 7 hours in, I just get this full wave of nausea. Like, my stomach goes AWOL. I'm talking, I've lost all communication. I'm seeing foods that I consumed 2-3 hours before just straight, just coming back up all over the trail. Anything I took down, food, water, medicine, just straight back up. Immediate refund, you know, instant cash back. I've got messages from people who were at that race, and I just want to say, I'm sorry for what you had to see. Between race 2 and race 3, something bad happened. There were a few days where my stomach was in agony. It was so bloated that it put my whole body out of alignment. Like, my back went into full spasm. With the physios, we tried dry needling, massage, taping, nothing worked. And then eventually I was referred to a sports medicine doctor. They got me straight away into an MRI to check that my spine was okay. And we had blood tests, stool tests, urine tests done. In the end, it was thankfully nothing that we worried it could have been. It was just viral gastroenteritis. And the thinking was that with the stress of the ultras and the high training load, that my immune system was just a little bit depleted, that it just hit me extra hard. So this was all before race 3, and basically the only treatment was rest. So I rested, I didn't do any running, and I kind of knew going in, like, I've been unwell. The symptoms had gone by that point, but I didn't have any high expectations. So when I did eventually feel nauseous, I just called it a day and I wasn't mad about it. And that's the last time we spoke. So I came back home, I took another 2.5 to 3 weeks of rest, and then I started off with a much lower training volume of 40 kilometers a week. So that's about 3.5 hours of training volume. But through that easier month of rest, I was still getting acid reflux, and I still had like the bloating, and something in my stomach just didn't feel right. Like, I would wake up every night with a bit of sick in my mouth. So I was kind of stacking pillows on top of each other to go to sleep. So I was sleeping like this to kind of stop the reflux from coming up. And I started to feel quite down around Christmas because it wasn't really getting any better. And so the sports medicine doctor was like, let me refer you to a gastroenterologist. Let's see if there's something that we're missing. And the gastroenterologist was like, let's do a gastroscopy. It could be hiatal hernia, which is basically when the stomach bulges through the diaphragm. I was honestly terrified. I was terrified that it could be a hiatal hernia. I was also terrified of the procedure. I've never been under general anesthetic before, and just the thought of a camera going in me, down into my stomach, ugh. Some people are really good with that stuff. I'm not brave enough. I just had my first gastroscopy. So I'm just coming around from the other side. I'm really drunk, honestly. But I'm so glad it's over. And there was nothing to worry about.
You didn't have a hiatus hernia, which was one of the things I was contemplating may have been an issue. So if you're not eating anything, it's not a problem. But if you're physiologically strained and then you put food into your gastrointestinal tract and expect it to function as normal, it's not.
Thankfully, it wasn't a hernia, and he said that viral gastroenteritis probably made the most sense, and just the stress of running just wasn't giving my body the space to heal. So I had an idea, which I proposed to him, and it was that I continue training, I just never eat whilst I'm running, because that is the combination that makes the symptoms worse. So I thought, what if I cap my runs at max 22 to 23 kilometers? It's about 13 and a half miles. Because somewhere around that 1.5 hours of running, our muscles run out of glycogen. So you need to consume carbs whilst you're running. That's why you see people having gels and carb drinks. So on a day where I would typically run a marathon, I would split that into two. So I would run in the morning 20 Ks, and then have lunch separate from running, not eating and running, and then in the evening run the remaining 22.5 kilometers. He did say you could give it a go, but he also said don't get your hopes up. So that's basically what I did for a month. I did a little bit of gym work, a little bit of rehab work, and then 8 to 10 hours of running, split into chunks that were no longer than an hour and 45 minutes. During that month, things were okay. Like, my runs weren't the best because I wasn't fueled the best, but I also didn't have nausea, and that made me feel very hopeful. So I tried an ultra, and I stuck to foods that I knew in the past worked really well for me, and they were working well for the first 2 to 3 hours until...
You good?
I will be, thank you. So I was at mile 33 and I was like, this is impossible. Like, I haven't improved at all when I'm running and eating together. I'm okay if I don't eat, but as soon as I run and eat, I'm getting super sick, even earlier than I was before. I was like, I can't believe I've done all this training and I'm not even getting the chance to put it into practice because it's my stomach. It's my stomach that's given me the problems. We finished at 33 miles. My muscles felt fine. My ankles felt fine. Even the next day, it was like any other day. I just felt really frustrated. So I came home and I was like, okay, Natacha, the only chance that this is gonna work is if there's somehow a food that you've missed out there somewhere that your stomach is gonna be all right with. So I went into full research and experimentation mode. I read so many interviews with pro athletes, I read research papers, I scoured forums for ultra runners, I spoke to Rini about fuels that she's used with her ultra runner athletes. I was leaving no stone unturned with this one. Every stone had been turned, flipped, twirled. There are some ultra runners that exclusively eat potatoes whilst they run. Tried that. There are companies making gels with low acidity, there are gels with high carbs but low sugar, there are gels that contain calcium carbonate, there are hydrogels. I tried everything. But the trend was downward. Like, I was getting sick earlier and earlier into my running. When I did the third race, I got sick at 7 hours. Now I'm getting sick at like 2 hours. I can't even make it to 7 hours. And it takes so much energy out of me just trying not to throw up. And that's where I'm at. So I've got a sports medicine doctor, gastroenterologist, Rini McGregor, she's the registered dietitian that works with pro ultra athletes. They all predicted that my stomach isn't gonna heal and it's not gonna be able to handle running and eating together until I completely stop running and reduce the stress levels. Even other endurance training like cycling, that's fine. It's specifically that running motion that puts so much stress on my stomach that's not allowing it to heal. And they said kind of unanimously that it would take about 6 to 9 months away completely for it to heal. And they all said, you're probably not going to want to hear this. And I said, I don't want to hear this. Yeah. If I'm being completely honest, and I wasn't documenting this experience and I wasn't trying to raise awareness and raise funds for endometriosis research, I think I would have probably stopped around January when the gastroenterologist was like, it's not going to heal until you rest. I just felt like I'd gotten so far, I didn't want to give up until I'd explored every possible route. you know, every possibility, because I just really want to encourage people to go for it. Whatever that it is, I just want you to really believe in yourself, even when things take longer than you'd hoped. And I felt like this was really capturing how it's always been for me. Like, things always take longer than you expect. You have to be persistent, and you can never lose that self-belief. But after that gastroscopy, that's when it stopped being fun for me. Like, there was a point where I was so excited. I don't feel like it's a running challenge anymore. I don't feel like I can progress with my running because my stomach's holding me back and my condition's just getting worse. And at that point, it started to interfere with my life. And I always said fitness should add to your life, not take away from it. And it was fine when I could do the long runs, because I would do a long 40 to 60 kilometer run on a Sunday morning and then a couple of 1.5 hour runs in the week. It was manageable. But when I had to start breaking up my sessions into 6 separate runs, plus the rehab sessions, plus a gym session, it just felt like it was interfering with my life so much, with my day-to-day life. And I don't want fitness to be my life. I love it, but I don't want to be a full-time athlete. I don't want to be a pro athlete. It's just so hard to get into a flow with anything else because it was just always interrupting the day. I mean, literally the whole point of this channel is to feel good about moving. Happiness and health together. But where I'm at right now, like, it's not making me happy, and it's also affecting my health. It brings me onto the topic of failing. I set a goal for myself to run a 100-mile ultramarathon, and I failed. But failing is good. If there's no chance of failing, are you even trying or growing or learning, or are you just playing life safe? Like, I would hate to go through life with a 0% failure rate. I would hate that. And I promise you this, that I will fail again. I mean, how bad is failing anyway? Like, everyone watching this video knows that I set myself a goal. I thought I could do it. I failed, and it's pretty freaking public, but I'm still here. Whose life is really any different? What actually is failure anyway? On a long enough timeline, any goal is achievable. Like, in 6 to 9 months of no running, the doctors and physios are telling me that my stomach and ankle will be fully healed. I'll never have been in a better place to run this 100 miles if I want to. And to all my friends with endometriosis, I took this to every race thinking that I would cross the finish line wearing this, and I never got to do you proud. Thank you so much for sharing about the condition and what life's been like. I didn't know that much about endo before. I had one message that said, "You're my endometriosis," with a capital cis, and that took me out for a while. So thanks for teaching me all about it. I'm so sorry I couldn't finish it. I know money's only a small part of what's needed, but I've made another donation to research through our GoFundMe, and that should take us to $50,000. I think I'm just a little frustrated and fed up at this point. And I can take an injury, I can take some rain and some pain. I just think with the stomach, it's not about running anymore. And that doesn't mean that I'm giving up. It's just not smart to do this right now. Like, health and happiness are more important. And when those two things return, who knows? Running might seem really exciting again. But yeah, thank you for believing in me. Thank you for believing in yourselves and for sharing all of your firsts. And don't ever feel embarrassed if you don't get them. I love you. I'm so proud of you. And thanks for watching.